Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lucia and this is Lulu's Leaves. In today's video, I am going to be going through some houseplants that I've had for quite a while now, and I haven't even come close to killing. You guys know I underwater my plants a lot, and there are a lot of types of plants that aren't going to be able to handle that. And so today I want to show you some plants that have really been Lucia proof. Most of these plants are not really on the radar as being, the easiest plants to take care of, but just going through my collection and picking out these plants today, it was really easy for me because a lot of these plants I've just never had any issues with. So I'm really excited to show you guys those, but before we do get into today's video, if you guys are not already subscribed to my channel, definitely click that button down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Also, if you would like to become a member, you can now do so for as little as $6.99 Canadian per month. And with that, you gain access to everything that my memberships offer. So that is extra content, my Discord group chat, and being on the end card at the end of this video. If you're interested in that, definitely check out the join button down below or the link in my description, but it's a really fun time over on Discord, so yeah, check it out if you are into that. While quite a few of these plants are going to be philodendrons because they are just notoriously an easier type of plant to take care of, I do also have some others in here that might mix it up a little bit. So with that being said, we may as well get into the first plant of today. The first plant that I want to talk about is the Syngonium Wendlandii. This plant actually almost died, but it wasn't the plant's fault, and it wasn't even my fault. One day, Lumi knocked over this plant and I completely forgot to refill the pot with soil, so it was living with about half the amount of soil that it needed to survive. But other than that, this plant has been extremely easy for me and a lot easier than a lot of other Syngoniums that I've had. Even though this plant does have really thin leaves, similar to its Syngonium friends, I do find that it doesn't need quite as much water. I always thought that if a plant had thinner leaves, that it would need to be watered more frequently, and that is still usually the case. But with this plant, I find it can go a lot longer than most without water. Oh my god. Lumi. And while this plant is really easy, it's also really beautiful and not at all a pest magnet. I really don't like plants that constantly are attracting pests, and I don't like to keep those plants in my home. I've actually avoided keeping Monstera deliciosas at all, other than the variegated one that I have. So plants that attract pests are definitely not welcome in my home, and that is another reason why this plant makes such a great, easy houseplant. There definitely are some easy Syngoniums out there that are not the Wendlandii. I actually find the Erythrophyllum or Erythrophylla, I think it's phylum, is really easy as well. That one actually has thicker leaves than most Syngoniums, and because of that, again, it doesn't need as much water. Really, this video should be drought tolerant plants because that's the biggest issue that I have, but this one definitely fits the bill. Next up on the list here is a plant that I've actually had the longest out of a lot of the rare plants that I do have, and it's done a lot in the last few years. I've cut it, I've done a lot to this plant, and it is thriving still. So let me just show you. This here is my Philodendron Biliata. This is a super easy houseplant, and I'm sure you guys have heard that before. This one is typically known for being an easier houseplant, so while this might not come as a shock to you, I definitely still wanted to include it in today's video. I have actually never been worried that this plant is going to die on me, and that is rare. I feel like most of my plants have gone through at least some sort of issue, or if I just neglect it, which happens often, but even with a little bit of neglect, this plant is really, really easy to take care of. I probably water this plant every 3 to 4 weeks. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but this plant doesn't need much more water than once a month. It definitely depends on the size of container that you're keeping it in. If it's in a small 2-inch pot, Yes, you are going to need to water it a little bit more because there's not as much soil to root ratio, I guess. But if you're keeping it in a really large pot, you're not going to have to water it often at all. These plants really like to dry out between waterings and they're just so beautiful. This is a really great substitute for some of the more rare plants that a lot of people love, like the Spiritus Sancti or the Adibapoense. While this is kind of similar in price to the Adibapoense, I think it's still a little bit less because it's a little bit more accessible. It's a really, really great dupe for a lot of different plants, and you can probably find them for about $100 at this point in time, at least around this size. Kind of a sidebar, it's been really nice to see a lot of these houseplant prices dropping drastically over the last little bit. I'm really, really excited to see the direction that the plant world is going into. I feel like a lot of the people who were spending a lot of money on plants are not anymore, so it is driving prices back down and I'm loving that. So you might see me plant shopping in a little bit because the plant prices are a little bit more reasonable now, but yeah, I am definitely in love with this plant and it's been so easy to care for. So if you're looking for a really easy rare plant, this is a really good option. Next up is one of my favorite plants in my entire collection. I actually might go as far as saying that it is my favorite in my collection. I am talking about my Philodendron Strawberry Shake. This plant made a little appearance in my last video, I think. What was my last video? I don't even remember. It's been in a recent video, so you guys have seen how beautiful this plant is turning out. It's just looking amazing with really beautiful variegation in this new leaf. This plant has been extremely easy for me. Even growing in moss, it hasn't been difficult to care for at all. And this here is a semi-rooted plant. So if you were to get a larger plant of this that's more established, it's going to be even easier to care for. I only have a little bit of experience caring for larger strawberry shakes, and that's just from working at a plant shop. But this small, tiny little guy has also been super easy. It's also one that's been very nice in terms of its variegation. I find a lot of plants can give you a lot of stress, and while this one has shot out a few green leaves here and there, it's always come back. So I don't have a lot of stress about this plant reverting anymore. Maybe I did in the beginning when I didn't really understand how this plant worked, but it does seem to be hanging on to it really, really nicely, and that's a really nice thing to feel, especially when you spend a lot on a plant like you would with one of these. You definitely don't want that variegation to go away right away. If you've been hesitant about getting one of these because you're worried about the variegation or you're worried about the care requirements, I would say don't worry about that. Obviously, it has a big price tag with it, so if you can't afford it, that's one thing. Don't spend beyond your means. But if you can afford it and you really want one, don't let the care requirements scare you away, because this one is super easy to care for. I just water it when the moss is pretty much dry, and it seems to do really, really well. It is sitting on my south-facing window ledge right now, so it is getting a lot of light, but I just put it there because that window makes plants thrive. I don't know what it is, but I really wanted that new variegated leaf to come in and really get that sunlight that it needs to develop properly, because most variegated plants will not develop as white, or in this case, yellow. Usually it is those yellow or green variegated plants that need the light, but they won't develop as strong patterns without natural or bright grow lights. So yeah, that is the Philodendron Strawberry Shake. I absolutely love this plant, and I totally recommend it if you are looking for a really good, rare, easy plant. Next up is a plant that has become a little bit more common over the last few years, and I'm loving it. In Ontario right now, you can't find these for the same price that you can in BC or, you know, our western provinces. They are getting really good deals on this plant, but you still can find them for a decent price. I am talking about the Philodendron Silver Sword. This is a really great plant for all of you plant lovers out there that love silvery or blue plants. This one definitely gives off that vibe. I did recently cut this plant, that's why it looks a little bit funky and it's leaning over a little bit, but I'm actually going to see if I can get this plant to trail, because I don't know why. I think it would look really, really beautiful. I've had this plant for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now, and it's never given me any issues. Usually this plant gets really, really sad looking before I remember to water it, and it always bounces back really nicely. So if you're worried you're gonna underwater this plant, it's really, really difficult to do so, especially because it will show you when it's thirsty. It will curl up those leaves, and it will give you about 3 weeks from that point before it starts declining. So you definitely have an alarm system when it comes to this plant, and you don't have to worry about watering it immediately when you see those signs. I would definitely water it if you can and you remember to, but it's not going to die immediately once you see it curling its leaves. When I bought this plant, I believe it was about $60, and I think you can find them for about $50 to $60 now, maybe even a little bit less. I know in BC, people have been seeing them, and larger plants at that, for like $15. So definitely keep your eye out. I think prices are dropping on this one, even in Ontario now. I'm hoping to see it in, Home Depots sometime soon, because they are being mass produced and they are being tissue cultured. So we should see lots of these guys for a really affordable price in the near future. Maybe hold out if you don't already have this plant, because I really do feel like those prices are dropping, and fast. So yeah, that is the Philodendron Silver Sword, a lovely, lovely plant, one that's really easy to care for, and again, Lucia proof. Last but not least on this list is one that is kind of on the back burner all the time for me. I don't know, I have a weird relationship with it because I don't know exactly what it is. And I know that's kind of strange, but I don't know how much care I should be putting into this plant. And again, I know that doesn't sound great, but usually we do take better care of our rare plants than we do common plants. And that's just facts, because we have more invested in that plant. While I did trade for this plant, I never ended up spending any money on it. I still do have some value attached to it. So yeah, let me show you the plant. I am talking about my supposed Monstera Epipremnoides, or a skeleto. I have no idea if that's what this actually is, but it's what I bought it as, or what I traded it as. And the mother plant definitely did look like one to me, but it was still pretty immature, so it is a little bit more difficult to tell. I am hanging on to this. I'm really excited to see how it matures, and if it matures into a nice Epipremnoides, or if it's a different type of maybe Adansonii species. I definitely don't think that this is the regular Monstera Adansonii. It doesn't look like one to me, but it could be another one of its subspecies. There are a lot of different types of Adansoniis out there, so yeah. This though is a really easy care plant. It's easy care because it doesn't need a lot of light at all. It's also pretty good in the watering department. It does need a little bit more water than most of the plants that you've seen today, but this plant can thrive in almost no light at all. I have it sitting on my dresser right now, and that is a pretty low light area. I don't have any grow lights currently there, but I will be getting some, and I will show you them in an upcoming video. They will be great for that area, but right now it's a really, really low light area, and this plant is doing just fine. So if you're looking for something that can thrive in low light and actually doesn't like bright light, the Epipremnoides, or even the Adansonii, is a really, really good option for you. The leaves easily burn in bright light, so make sure that you're not putting it near a window. But if that's not a problem for you and you don't have a lot of light in your house, this is a really, really great option. I especially love the larger holes in this plant, and I like that there are fewer of them, if you know what I mean. I find with the Adansonii, there are a lot of different holes in one individual leaf, where this one has less holes and they are larger. But yeah, this is definitely a special plant to me, and I am taking the best care of it that I possibly can. But I did want to mention it because it has been really easy, and when I went to go look at it today, I was like, oh yeah, actually I kind of forgot about that plant and it's still doing okay. So that is a good sign that, you know, it's gonna be an easy one for you guys. Well guys, that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed learning about some of the plants that I find super duper easy, and I hope that it helped you if you are looking for a specific plant for a specific spot in your house and you want something that's super easy care. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below so that you don't miss out on any future content. Also, if you would like to join an awesome Discord group chat or a little community over on Discord, definitely join as a member down below. You can join now for as little as $6.99 per month. You also gain access to some extra videos. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.